The vagabond was a coffin with a thrust vector. That's how Jax Kessler always described his ship, a beat-up tier, 4 Salvager held together by hope, salvage-grade sealant, and a complete disregard for safety protocols. For 20 years, he drifted through the backwaters of colonized space, picking through the bones of derelict freighters and abandoned outposts. He was a scavenger, a bottom feeder, a man whose moral compass had been stripped and sold for parts long ago. You don't survive in the salvage game by being sentimental. You survive by being fast, ruthless, and knowing when to cut your losses. His latest lead came from a half-drunk NAV tech at a station orbiting Cygnus 9. A whispered rumor about a Xylosian royal cruiser that had gone down in the atmospheric turbulence of an uncharted gas giant 40 cycles ago. Xylosians were an ancient, reclusive species, their technology legendary, and worth a fortune on the black market. A royal cruiser was the motherlode. The NAV tech had laughed, calling it a ghost story. Jax didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in credits. Finding the wreck was the easy part. It was wedged into a crevice on a small, rocky moon that orbited the gas giant, its once proud hull scarred and blackened. Its design was utterly alien, all sweeping curves and organic-looking protrusions, like the skeleton of a crystalline sea creature. Jax felt a rare flutter of excitement. This wasn't scrap. This was art. He docked the vagabond against the cruiser's mangled airlock, ran a standard atmosphere scan. Negative for toxins, positive for breathable oxygen, a lucky break, and cycled the hatch. His cutter sparked against the sealed inner door, and with a groan of tortured metal he was in. The interior was dark, lit only by the wan light of the distant gas giant filtering through cracked viewports. The gravity was off, a light, unsettling lurch. But that wasn't what made him stop. It was the silence. Not the empty silence of a dead ship, but a heavy, waiting silence. And it was warm. The ambient temperature was at least 15 degrees higher than outside, as if the ship's core was still alive. He moved cautiously through a corridor lined with bas-reliefs depicting tall, elegant figures in moments of what looked like mourning or deep contemplation. His light picked out the gleam of precious metals and what looked like frozen tears embedded in the walls. He ignored it. The real prize would be in the core, the power systems, the data cores. He found the throne room. It was a vast, circular chamber with a high, domed ceiling. And in its center, on a dais of woven crystal, sat the queen. She was magnificent, taller than a human by half, with skin the color of burnished copper and large, multifaceted eyes that gleamed like cut jewels even in the dim light. She wore a gown of some shimmering, web-like material, and a crown of delicate, silver filaments rested on her brow. She was slumped forward, one long-fingered hand pressed against the dais, the picture of utter exhaustion and despair. She was alive, very much alive. Jax's hand instinctively went to the stun pistol at his belt. An alien queen. Trapped. Alone. The political ramifications were someone else's problem. The ransom possibilities, however, were all his. He could name his price. Whole systems would barter for her safe return. He saw a future not of scavenging, but of luxury, of retirement. The queen's head slowly turned at the sound of his footstep on the crystalline floor. Her large eyes focused on him. There was no anger in them, no alien malice. Just a deep, profound weariness. She spoke, her voice a resonant hum that seemed to vibrate in his chest, not his ears. The ship's translation system, still somehow operational, crackled to life. "A child of dust," she murmured. "You are the first living soul to breach my sanctuary in 40 cycles. Welcome, little one. I am Anya, sovereign of the 7 Hives of Xylos." Jax didn't lower his weapon. "Your Majesty, looks like you've had a rough trip. Don't worry, I'm here to help." Hope flickered in her jeweled eyes. "You are a rescuer? A healer?" He chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "I'm a salvager, ma'am. And right now, You are the most valuable piece of salvage I've ever found." He saw the hope die. It was replaced not by fear, but by a crushing, bone-deep disappointment. "Ah, a scavenger of the dead. You see only the price of my crown, not the weight of it. Lady, the weight of your crown is exactly my business." He pulled out a portable scanner and began walking around her, studying the dais, the flickering energy signatures. "This ship is a wreck. How are you still alive? My life support is tied to the core. It is failing. As I am." She gestured a graceful hand towards a panel displaying a cascade of alien script. "My children, my hive, they are scattered, lost. This cruiser held the last of my royal genetic matrix, the future of my species, and it is dying with me." Jax glanced at the display. He didn't need to read the script to understand the readout. Power levels were critically low. Life support had maybe another few days. A week at most. He saw a problem. A live queen was worth a ransom. A dead queen was just a biological sample, worth a fraction of the price. He had to keep her alive. "Right," he said, businesslike. "My ship has a portable generator. I can hook it up, give you enough juice to keep the lights on until I can get a proper salvage tug out here." "You would enslave me in a gilded cage," she said, her voice flat. "To be sold to the highest bidder. To be studied, prodded, and displayed like a strange beast. I have seen what your kind does with the unknown. You fear it, then you cage it. It's just business, Your Highness. Don't take it personally." He returned to the vagabond and hauled the heavy generator back through the airlock. It was awkward, brute force work. As he wrestled it into the throne room, he saw her watching him. Not with hatred, but with a sad, analytical curiosity. It made him uncomfortable. He preferred his marks to be angry. Anger was easy to deal with. Sadness was messy. He found the primary power conduit and began the delicate work of interfacing his human technology with her alien systems. It was like performing surgery on a living creature with tools made for breaking rocks. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. He grunted and sweated, swearing under his breath. "Why do you do this?" she asked, her resonant voice cutting through the silence. "Do what? Risk electrocution? It's in the job description." "No, this." She gestured vaguely, taking in him, the generator, the whole situation. "You circle the carcasses of the dead, taking their remains for profit. What do you seek? Power? Wealth? What hole in your soul are you trying to fill with the treasures of others?" The question hit him like a punch to the gut. It was too personal, too accurate. He ignored it, focusing on the wiring. "I see credits. They're much easier to quantify than holes in souls. I see." A long pause. "On my world, we have a caste of gatherers. They collect the shed skins of our young, the fallen leaves of our forests, the discarded shells of our sea creatures. They do not do it for wealth. They do it to return the materials to the cycle of life, to honor what was, and to make way for what will be. They are honored. They are healers of the past. You are the opposite. You take, but you give nothing back. You are a wound that does not heal." Jax finally connected the last wire. The generator hummed, and the lights on the Queen's panel flickered to a steady if weak glow. He stood up, wiping his forehead with his sleeve, and turned to face her. He was about to make a sarcastic remark about alien poetry when he saw her face. A single, perfect tear, the color of liquid starlight, welled up in the corner of her multifaceted eye. It trembled for a moment, then traced a slow, glittering path down her copper cheek. It wasn't a tear of pain, or fear, or even anger. It was a tear of pure, unadulterated sorrow. Sorrow for him. "You are so alone, little dust child," she whispered, her voice the gentlest he had ever heard. "Surrounded by the achievements of others, you have built nothing of your own. You measure your worth in what you can take, because you have forgotten how to create. You see my crown, my ship, my title, and you think they are the sources of my value. You do not see that my true value is in what I have given, my love, my guidance, my very genetic code, to ensure a future for my people. You have no one to give to, no future to build, and that is the most terrible poverty of all. Jax stood frozen. He had seen a lot in his 40 years. He had seen greed, violence, and betrayal. He had seen men die for a handful of credits. But he had never, ever, seen someone cry for him. Not for what he'd done, but for what he'd failed to become. The tear hung on her cheek for an endless second, a perfect, crystalline indictment of his entire life. It was a mirror, and in it, he saw himself not as a rugged survivor, but as a small, pathetic, and utterly lonely man. The tear fell. It hit the crystalline floor with a sound like a single, pure chime. And in that sound, Jax Kessler, the man who had no sentiment, felt something crack inside him. The armor he'd built over 2 decades, the cynical shell that had protected him from a universe that didn't care, shattered. He looked at the dying queen, a being of immense value and grace, and for the first time, he didn't see a price tag. He saw a person. He saw a mother, terrified for her lost children. He saw a leader, crushed by the weight of her failure. He saw himself, reflected in her sorrow, and for the first time, he didn't like what he saw. His hand went to his belt, not for his stun pistol. He unclipped his heavy-duty scanner and his multi-tool. He walked past the generator, past the power conduits, and knelt before her dais. "Tell me about your children," he said, his voice rough, unrecognizable to his own ears. "Tell me about the genetic matrix. What does it look like? How is it stored? Maybe we can save it." The queen's eyes widened. The sorrow didn't vanish, but something else joined it, a fragile, trembling hope. "Why?" she breathed. "The price of a dead queen's legacy is far less than the price of a live one." Jax met her jeweled gaze. He thought about the tear. He thought about the word wound. He thought about building something instead of just taking it apart. "Let's just say," he muttered, looking away, "I'm tired of being a wound." For the next 12 hours, Jax didn't work as a salvager. He worked as a medic, a technician, a student. Under Anya's patient guidance, he learned to navigate the alien data core. He located the stasis chamber containing the royal genetic matrix, a swirling constellation of light held in a field of pure energy. Its power source was failing. Using every spare part on the vagabond, every ounce of a scavenger's ingenuity, he jury-rigged a containment field. He rerouted power, patched crystal with durasteel, and calibrated alien energy flows with human diagnostic tools. It was impossible. It was insane. He did it anyway. When it was done, he stood before her, exhausted but oddly exhilarated. The matrix was stable. It could be transported. "I can take it," he said, his voice hoarse. "I know people, scientists on neutral stations. They can study it, nurture it. They won't exploit it. I'll make sure of it. And you." He trailed off, looking at her failing form. The effort of guiding him had drained her further. "You can come with me. I have a decent med bay." She shook her head slowly, a gesture he'd taught her. "No, little dust child. My body is one with this ship. When its heart stops, so will mine. But you..." She looked at the stabilized matrix, then back at him, her eyes holding a warmth that hadn't been there before. "You have given my children a future. You have built something. You have healed an old wound and created new life." A single tear, his own this time, blurred his vision. He wiped it away angrily with his grimy sleeve. "It's just salvage," he croaked. She reached out and placed a cool, 3-fingered hand on his cheek. "No, Jax. It is a beginning." He left her there, serene and at peace on her crystalline throne, as the lights of her ship slowly dimmed around her. He carried the stasis chamber tenderly, like a father carrying a newborn. Back on the vagabond, he didn't calculate its worth. He just set it gently in the safest part of his ship. As he pulled away from the wreck of the royal cruiser, he saw it, A small, final flicker of light from the throne room window, like a wave goodbye. Jax Kessler, the man with no sentiment, pressed his palm against the cold viewport and whispered, "Goodbye, Your Majesty." He was still just a salvager. He still had a coffin for a ship, but for the first time in his life, he was carrying something that wasn't for sale. He was carrying a future, and as the stars stretched out before him, he realized it felt a lot like hope.